In this video, I'm going to show you how to play that beautiful piece from the movie Amélie, which is called Comptine. Really, it's called
Comptine d'un autre ÉTÉ, l'après-midi.
So I'll put timestamps below for each section. There's only 3 sections to learn, as well as the left-hand part, which is just the same for the entire piece. So feel free to work on one section until you get it under your fingers, and then go on to the next section. And then at the end of the video, I'll give you a few tips about how to play it more beautifully, some like musicality tips. All right, so let's get started. So first we'll start with the left hand. There are only 4 chords to learn that repeat the entire piece. Here's the first chord, which is an E minor chord, and then the E is doubled up top with an octave, and I call this an octave triad. And you just want to get this shape under your fingers. If it isn't, I would do things like lift your hand up and then bring it back down and just memorize those distances. You know, we got 2 notes in between your thumb and pointer finger, 1 note in between your pointer finger and middle finger, and then it's kind of like 1 finger per note down here. So that's chord number 1, it's E minor. Chord number 2, we're going to bring this E, we're going to bring it down 1 note to D. When you bring your thumb and pinky down 1 note, you want to keep these 2 fingers exactly where they are, like this. So one exercise would be to keep those notes down and just go back and forth like this, and learn that subtle change of hand position. And once you can do that, why don't you just go back and forth, playing all 4 notes. Now the third chord, we just move your middle finger to F sharp. And this is a B minor triad with B, D, and F sharp. Here's B minor normally, but these 2 notes are repeated down here. Another octave triad, as I call. And then the 4th chord, you just move your pointer finger down to A. Now this is a D major octave triad. Here's the D major chord, D, F sharp, and A, with your thumb on D, doubling it as an octave. So the 4 chords are E minor, G, B minor, and D major. One approach I would suggest is just going back and forth between each. Here's chord 1 to chord 2, chord 1 to chord 2, back and forth. Now 2 to 3, 2 to 3, 2 to 3, and then 3 to 4, 3 to 4, 3 to 4, and then 4 back to 1. Here you just bring your entire hand up 1 note. Now to get this more in the timing, why don't we play each chord 4 times on quarter notes, as in 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Feel free to go really slow if it's tricky, like 1, 2, 3. I'm starting to think about moving my thumb and pinky down. Here we go. There it is. Now I'm getting ready to move my middle finger. There's that. 2, 3, 4. Now I'm going to move my pointer finger. Now all 4 fingers go up. Here you kind of just freeze your hand and move it up. Now that you know the chords, we can go on to the next phase, which is playing them like it is in the piece. So to do that, we actually start with the octave and then your pointer finger. And now your thumb and middle finger back to the pointer finger. And just take your time. It's an octave, 1 and 5. Pointer finger, 1 and 3. Pointer finger. And you just want to do this. Go as slow as you need to go. And just play it correctly until it's, you know, I would say effortless, until you can do it without even thinking about it. Why don't we try this adding the second chord? So we do this 8 of those. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then back to this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You know, if you need to go this speed, 1, think this to this. Now back to 1 and 3. Back to 2. Here's 4. Here's 5 on this. Just go as slow as you need to go. You're just training your hand to get used to this pattern. Once you can get it to about this speed, you know, you're pretty good. And then on to the second chord. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now let's add the third chord. 1, 2, 3, 4, how about the fourth chord? All right, so if you are able to do that, you've really conquered the biggest part of this piece, which is getting used to that like slightly awkward left hand. Let's go on to the next 3 sections, learning how to add the right hand to what we just learned. And it starts with G, F sharp, G. To do this, I like to put my thumb on G and my pointer finger on F sharp, and then back to my thumb. Then up here, I like to use my ring finger and pinky on B, C, and B. B, C, B. So G, F sharp, G, B, C, B. Now there's a lot of different ways to do this. Sometimes you could go like this, so you don't have to cross any fingers. Whatever works for you, I just encourage you to try it out, and then whatever you like, just stick with it. All right, the next melody, I start with the pointer finger on F sharp, G, F sharp, and then G, A, G. So we went, and then F sharp, G, G, A, G. And I also, if you use this fingering, I think 2, 3, 2, 3, 4, 3. Now the third chord is kind of like the first one, except instead of going G, F sharp, G, we do that one note lower, F sharp, E, F sharp. So E, F sharp, and then B, C, B. And then the fourth chord is just F sharp, E, F sharp again. So measure 1, measure 2, measure 3, and measure 4. Now another thing is I think of these as what I call mountains and valleys. So when it goes down and up, that's a valley, and when it goes up then back down, that's a mountain. So valley, mountain, and then 2 mountains. 1, 2. Then a valley and a mountain, and then a valley. So in my brain, I kind of picture this like down-up shape or up-down, and just helps me keep track of which is which. It's kind of easy to mix them up. What I would do is just make sure you can play that correctly. G, F sharp, G, B, C, B, F sharp, G, F sharp, G, A, G, F sharp, E, F sharp, B, C, B, F sharp, E, F sharp. And if you can do that correctly, and perhaps maybe fast as well, like, you know, about this speed. Now we're ready to add the left hand. I'm counting out the 8 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 8 notes in each measure, and there's 4 measures. So I use that counting to line it up with the left hand. So the first note's all by itself, and then that right hand comes in on the second note with your pointer finger. G, and now the F sharp by itself, and then back to G with the thumb and middle finger. So what we're going to do is get rid of that first note in the left hand since it's all by itself, and just focus on how the 2 hands work together. So that first part is with your pointer finger and thumb on G and B at the same time, then the F sharp by itself, and then back to G with your thumb on E and middle finger on G there. Now here, I'm going to also use numbers and count them as the 1, 2, 3, like 3 notes. And we got a left hand on 1, 2 is by itself, and then left hand on 3 with the pair of notes E and G. So 1, 2, 3. And just get good at that, like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Maybe fast, like you just want to train your hands to get used to that combination of notes. Now the next notes with the B, C, B starts again with the pointer finger. So B, C, and then back to B is the octave. And again, we'll count the 3 notes. So 1 on B's, 2 is by itself, then back to B on the octave on 3. So 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Now let's put these 2 pieces together. So we're again going to keep not doing that first note of the measure, but starting on where the 2 hands play together. So we got 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Just think of those 2 groups of 3 notes. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And I would do that as much as you need to do. And again, feel free to just go really slowly and carefully, thinking about what notes are played with what fingers. Here's my pointer finger, and then I'm going back to these notes. Sometimes I like to just wiggle them before I play them. And now these will be together. 1, here's by itself. 2, here's the octave. 3. And as I said, if you just do it correctly over and over, magically it will get easier and easier. So now let's play the whole measure. By the way, the rest of the measure is just the left hand. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I'm counting the left hand notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If the right hand's in between, I just don't even count that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, once you can do that, we're ready for the next measure. The good news is the coordination is exactly the same. It's just different notes. So we got that in the left hand, and the 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 in the right hand. So 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3 with the octave. As in the pointer fingers together on F sharp and B, G by itself, then F sharp with your thumb and middle finger on G. That's 1, 2, 3. Just do that over and over. And now the G, A, G, I'm going to also count 1, 2, 3. So we start again with your pointer finger. 1, A is by itself, and then back to G with the octave. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So then put them together. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. If you need to go slow, feel free. Just make sure you're doing it correctly. Now, let's try the whole measure. And we're going to go, instead of counting 3, we're going to count the 8 left-hand notes. So starting with the octave on 1, and then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then once you can do that, we're going to keep building the house, and we're going to put that first chord with the second chord and try it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then onto the third chord, which, by the way, same coordination, so it should be a little easier now. Just the F sharp and E. And then these same notes. And then the last measure is just F sharp, E, F sharp. So once you can do it all, you do these 4 measures in that melody 2 times. And I'm going to play it once just to demonstrate. Then we do it again. Congratulations, you've made it through the first section. You know the left hand. And now we're ready on to the second section, which is the easiest section. And then there's only one more section after that. So we're already well on our way. So of course we're going to start with the right hand because, as I said, the left hand is just the same as it was before. And here we start off with these simple notes. E to B, and then D to B, then F sharp to B, and F sharp to A. Let's just try that one more time. So let's add the left hand in. And the right hand starts on 1 on the first note, and then that second note comes in on the 4th left hand note. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Also want to point out, these right hand notes are notes in the chords. So if you can think of the 4 different chords, E minor is like E, G, and B. G is G, B, and D. B minor is B, D, and F sharp. And D is D, F sharp, and A. The right hand is doing notes in the chords, so it can help you remember it. I'm going to do it one more time. Notice the lower note is always with that fourth note, which is your pointer finger in the left hand. Okay, so on to the next part. This is now the same pattern and coordination of the two hands, but it's two notes in the right hand. So I'll show you how to do that. Again, we want to kind of do the same strategy as we did with the left hand, where we play all four notes as a block chord. So here's the first chord with your thumb and pinky on G's, and your pointer finger on B, and your fourth finger on E. The second chord, you just keep it in the position, just switch to your middle finger on D. Here's a G major triad with the octave. Now the third chord, we're going to move the thumb and pinky down to F sharp. And as I said before, you want to keep these fingers where they are. You don't want to be like, have to find it and be like, just unnecessary movement. You only want to move the thumb and pinky. And then the fourth chord, your pointer finger goes to A. That's a little bit of an uncomfortable stretch, so it's easy to just bring your whole middle of your hand down and use 2 and 4, or pointer finger and ring finger. So this is a little tricky, but it's good to just practice that movement of these inner fingers moving down. Now, in the actual song, this part, it always starts on your pinky and pointer finger. And then it goes to your thumb and either your ring finger or middle finger. So the ring finger, and then to the middle finger and thumb, pointer and pinky to the middle finger and thumb, and then pointer and pinky to the ring finger and thumb. So as I said, the strategy to learn this, be able to play this correctly multiple times in a row, and then be able to do this correctly multiple times in a row. Now this is the part that I see a lot of my students struggle with a little bit, and it's for a very simple reason. The issue I see a lot of my students do is they try to use their thumb and pinky on both of these. It's a little more comfortable because you don't spread out as wide, but that means you have to find each of those notes. So instead of having to figure out one position, you have to figure out 2 positions, and it just is like twice as much work. Learning to grab 4 notes in one position is much easier in the long run. All right, so let's add the left hand back in. Again, the first note is together, and then 2, and then 3, and then with the pointer finger is the second note. You have to get used to these finger combinations. It can be a little weird at first. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now both of these parts happen one time. First is the single note, and then it's the 2 notes. So I'm just going to show you the whole section. I love this part because it's so repetitive, but it's building up the excitement and energy as we add 2 notes in the right hand. And then the third section is the, like fireworks exciting section. So let's go ahead and learn that now. All right, so the third section can be a little challenging for people because it's fast and the coordination is a little tricky. So you really have to train your hands to do the correct things. Luckily, it's a little easier than it sounds. That's because there's a lot of repetition again. So once you learn that first measure, the other 4 measures are much easier. So let's start with the right hand. We're going to start with the octave on B's up here and your pointer finger on E. Now what the song does is it goes up 4 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4. But we want it really even, like pop, 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 pop. After that is what I call a 4-note transition, where we transition to the next chord. And the transition always starts right where you were with your thumb and pointer finger, going thumb, pointer, And then your thumb moves. And the first time you move up a note and then back to your pointer. So that's 4 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hitting your pointer finger on 2 and 4, and your thumb moves up. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So the whole measure, roll this 2, 3, 4, and now the 1, 2, 3, 4. The next measure, you just move your pointer finger to D. It's a little bit of a stretch, but it's okay. So roll this 2, 3, 4, and then the thumb, pointer, and instead of your thumb going up, it goes down. And then the third one is F sharp octaves, kind of jumps, pretty big jump to the thumb and pinky on F sharp, and your pointer finger is on B. 1, 2, 3, 4. Roll that 4 times, and then the 4-note transition, thumb, pointer. Again, your thumb goes up, and then the fourth one is up here on A, D, A, and we roll that 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then again, your thumb, pointer, your thumb goes down. So these 4-note transitions were alternating up, and the next one goes down, and then the next one goes up, and the next one goes down. Let me show you the best way to learn all this, which is instead of rolling these 4 times like that, you actually want to just play it as a block chord. Again, block chords, when you play a group of notes as 1 chord. So just play that and then do the 4-note transition where your thumb goes up and into the next block chord, and then the 4-note transition where your thumb goes down into the next block chord, and 4 notes where your thumb goes up, and then the 4th block chord and your thumb goes down. And what's tricky is after the 4-note transition, you really need to jump right to the next one. So bum, 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 bum. Of course, your pointer finger is just really, at this point, both these fingers just move down. Your pinky stays where it is. So, and then on this one, I kind of let go of my pinky and start heading. I definitely just like this one, you just need to practice seeing the landing on the F sharps here. And your pointer finger is kind of like hitting the side of this black key. And then the last one, going up, your thumb is just kind of working its way up, and then you have the landing here. So all 4 block chords and transitions. This happens 2 times, but on the last one you don't do a 4-note transition. That like final measure, you just roll this 5 times. So now let's go back to playing it how it's written. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Two, 3, 4, 5. So 5 rolls on the last one. Now, that's where you want to get to, maybe even a little faster than that, but feel free to just go really slow. Count it out. 2, 3, 4. And here's the 4-note transition. Thumb goes up, and then into this next one. 3, 4, and then the thumb goes down. 2, thumb, pointer into the F sharp. So adding the left hand, just know that this right hand is going twice as fast as the left hand. So I'm going to count it like it would be 8th notes in music, even though it's actually 16th notes and 8th notes. I'm just going to count it as like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and. What's going on is these are in groups of 3, so it kind of messes with your head at first. So again, we might want to get used to the 1 and 2 and just get that down. But now let's add the next one. 1 and 2 and 3, and. So just take your time. 1 and 2 and 3 and. And then add the next one. 4 and 5. So 4 and 5. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. And there's only one more. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and. And once you can do that, that's all 4 rolls, and then it's just the 4-note transition. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and now the thumb, pointer, thumb, pointer. Takes a little bit to get used to it, but if you're having any issue, just break that first part down into each count, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 with the ands in between, and then we'll go on to the next measure. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and thumb, pointer, thumb, pointer. So I like all this counting and thinking, but we're trying to use that as a way to play it correctly, and then you want to be able to kind of just do it by feel and actually not thinking. So here's the first 2 measures. And then you have that jump down to the F sharp on the 3rd. By the way, once you figure out the first measure, the coordination is the same every time. So one approach is just get really good at the first measure and then just learn the notes for the rest of it. So here's the 3rd measure. And the thumb goes up, and now the 4th measure. And the thumb goes down. As I said, be patient with yourself. Lots of slow, correct practice is the way to train your hands to be able to do it without thinking. But then you can kind of test yourself and see if you can do it fast. If I had a little pause there, I would be like, ooh, that pause means like I'm just not trained enough on that part. So I'd only work out that like. So one last strategy is to go back to block chords that we did earlier, but now add the left hand like this. And then you just think about rolling that chord 4 times, like 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just be patient with yourself. Just go slow, carefully, and over time it gets easier and easier. All right, so now that you have learned each section, I just want to point out that the piece does each section, and then it repeats the entire thing where your right hand goes up an octave and your left hand stays the same. So the second half of the song, your right hand is an octave higher. And and then eventually the. So it's all the same. It just, the right hand is higher. That last very end of the song when you roll that chord 4 times, like 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then hits this note, and then it just hits this E minor chord as the final chord. Now I want to share with you 5 ways to make this piece sound more beautiful once you are able to play it. I like to think of learning the notes, that is phase 1. And once you have completed phase 1, you're ready for phase 2, which is working on how to play it to make it sound better. Now the first tip is to use the sustain pedal. If you don't really know how to use the sustain pedal, I've made another video, and just go watch that. Basically, you should lift the pedal every measure when the chord changes. The second bit of advice is to make your left hand quiet. Your left hand has 4 notes going on, and your right hand is 1 or 2 notes at a time. By having a quiet left hand, it really allows that melody to shine. Here it is with equal volumes. And here it is with a quiet left hand. It sounds like that left hand is just this quiet background music to the beautiful melody of the right hand. Now the third tip is to add a little bit of expression, which means adjusting the speeds of things as you play. So you can speed up and slow down. It's not really black or white how to do this. I would say one way to do this is at the end of a section, you slow down. So here's the end of the first section. And now I'll slow down. And then I'm back to it. Maybe I'll like slow down here a little bit. And back to it. And now slow down again. So these little slowdowns and speed ups really just add to the emotional quality of it. I was slowing down at the end of sections, but you can actually speed up a little bit in the middle of the 4-measure pattern. So here's the first part with that. Now I'm speeding up. Now I'm slowing down. Now I'm speeding up. And now I'm slowing down. Now I'm speeding up. Now I'm slowing down. It's hard to say it as I play it, but that's the idea. It's called expression. It's the speeding up and slowing down, and it's like this cool musical skill that you can do on beautiful music like this. Now, the fourth tip is to also change the volumes of things as you play. We don't want to just play everything flat with a quiet left hand and a louder right hand. You want your right hand to be expressive. Listen to the original recording by Yann Tiersen. You can hear him doing some of these. You know, he might start loud and he gets quieter, or maybe he starts quiet and gets loud. So these are the things that really bring out more beauty in the music, and it makes it really fun to play too. And then the final tip is on that third section. I just kind of noticed Yann Tiersen doing this on the recording. I feel like he brings out his thumb a little louder, like this. It's almost like an optical illusion, or maybe like a sonic illusion, that it sounds like this really simple melody, like. So that's like what it sounds like, and then these other notes are kind of twinkling in the background. Combining the fourth tip with that, maybe even swell in volume as you bring out that thumb. So now I'm getting quieter. So having that thumb volume actually go up and down a little bit takes it to even another level. And then on the second half, when he goes up high, he brings out his pinky instead of his thumb. And really adds this sparkly quality to it. So there it is. Congratulations if you've made it this far. You've seen all the tutorial of how to play it and some of the tips, and hopefully you are learning it and working on it. And if you want to watch me play this entire piece from start to finish, I'm actually going to record another video of that. And if you want to watch that, I'll post a link to it right here. I'll see you next time.